Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I am planting an herb garden. I've never planted an herb garden before, but I have the perfect little space right here, once it's cleaned up, to plant some kitchen herbs. And then in my back garden I'll be planting some more medicinal herbs. I do have some that I started from seed already and they desperately need to be put into the ground. I know I have some basil, thyme, rosemary, and then a couple other ones that I'm going to put in the back. But this garden here is in desperate need of some cleanup. So let me show you what's going on here. So there's this cute little garden bed, and it obviously is neglected. I did take a few vegetables that the previous owners were growing last year and throw them in here. You see the tomato cages. They did produce a couple of tomatoes, but they didn't do great, I think, just because of I kind of neglected them, and they were neglected before we got here. So I might take out this granite that you see, and you will notice in my videos that there is literally granite and marble everywhere. The man who lived here before had an abundance of it, we'll just say that. And then I think in this planter I will do my mint, because I know mint spreads and will take over the garden. Other than that, I don't really know a whole lot about how to plant an herb garden, so this will be a journey for all of us together. And I'm going to get started and start cleaning this up and get it ready for some plants. So in addition to all of the granite and marble that was left here, there's also a plethora of things like this. Just any kind of old stake that you could imagine is literally here. The man who lived here before, he was an avid gardener, and they're absolutely beautiful, which is one of the reasons why I love this property so much. But he used anything he could think of to make things stand up straight. I'm not going to use that method, so I do have a lot of this that I need to get rid of. I also, in the back garden, there is a ton of this fencing, which I brought up from the back, which I'm going to use to help protect the herbs that I'm planting. I'm going to have to clean them up, obviously, and probably cut them to size just to get them to fit. But we have deer that walk through our property almost nightly, and we also have bunny rabbits that live in the back, and I don't want them eating my herbs. So I'm going to have to, for now, just make a sort of makeshift way to protect the things that I'm going to be planting. I wanted to show you something that I found growing here. This is a Japanese beetle grub. You do not want these in your garden. They are going to take over everything and ruin your herbs. They're going to eat right through your leaves and skeletonize them. So anytime I find one of these, I'm getting rid of them. They come out in June. They don't have any real natural predators, and they will wreak havoc on your tomatoes and leaves and all of the other vegetables you have planted. So whenever you see little grubs like this, just get rid of them. While I will be getting rid of any of the Japanese beetle grubs that I find, I will be keeping all of these worms. There is a ton of worms in here that are going to be great for my garden. So keep those. They're gross. I don't like them, but they're good for my garden. You can't really tell by looking at it right now, but this right here is actually another piece of granite, no surprise. It's super dirty. Normally I would power wash it, but I am not messing with a power washer today, so I am going to get it cleaned up as much as I can. I think when I plant my mint, I'm going to not use this pot. I have one that's a little bit prettier that I might use, but I am going to dig out all these dandelions. I know there's going to be some good roots in there, and I can use the greens in a salad, and I can use the roots for something else. And then I do think I am going to take out the front and the left side of this granite here, and then I'm going to clean up all this side over here. This is a huge clematis plant that I know it's hard to tell, but I have already cleaned it up once. I've taken some shoots and planted them elsewhere. I've given some to a couple of friends. So I'm going to get this area cleaned up as well. I know it's going to look really good when it's done, and I'm really excited to see the finished product. In addition to the dandelion that I will be keeping, I also found this, this is called the common horsetail. I have a new plant app that I've been using to identify a lot of things this spring, since this is our first spring here. This is a common horsetail, and it has herbal and medicinal properties, which I absolutely will learn more about because it's all over my property. I also have some hyacinth here, and I have some more dandelion greens that I will be growing up. Over here, I think that's a foxglove. I am going to replant that, probably right where it is. I can't remember last year if there was a flower. I know there was flowers growing there. I can't remember. So I will replant that one as well. But it's just been so much fun this spring to see everything that's coming up and then learn about the medicinal properties that they have, and that they're not just weeds. They can be actually be used for good things. I just read quickly on the horsetail. This is used as a diuretic. That was just one of the first things I saw. So looking forward to learning more about it. Scrubbing concrete definitely was not on my list of things that I wanted to do today. Actually, it's not even concrete, it's granite. But I know that if I don't do this, I'll regret it and wish that I had, and then have to do it again, or just have to do it later anyways. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it now, even though I don't want to. It's not going to look 100% better just because I'm not using the power washer. But like I said earlier, I don't want to get the power washer out today. I don't want to do this today. So, but I'm just going to do this real quick. You can already tell with just a few swipes that it looks a little better. So I'll bite the bullet and do it, even though I really don't want to. I don't know if you're really going to be able to tell on the video. I did clean this. I didn't do a very good job. It's better than it was, and it's just going to have to do for now. I took a break for lunch, and now I am actually ready to start planting. So I brought in the seedlings that I have from inside. I have a ton of thyme. Not the thyme that we all need, but thyme that you grow in the garden. One tiny little thing of rosemary. I'm not sure if it's going to survive. And then I have 2 different types of basil. I have been meaning to make garden markers, and I actually started some, but I wasn't really happy with how they came out. So I found these things down in the basement, just these little popsicle sticks. I don't know why, but for some reason my daughter has all of her friends' names written on them. I'm not sure what that's all about, so I just wrote over them with the things that I'm planting. So just a little makeshift planter thing for now, and then I will have to come up with something better later. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started and finally get some plants into the ground. I know I said I was going to probably switch this out for a prettier looking pot, but I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to. Also, I'm always finding feathers all the time, and this little feather just flew over here at me as I was cursing the wind, so that's what I get. I'm going to start with peppermints. I'm growing that in a separate container because mint will take over everything. So these seeds are ridiculously tiny, and you're supposed to sow them just on the surface of the dirt. So I'm just going to take a tiny handful and just scatter them around here, and maybe cover them lightly. I'm going to do a few more just to make sure that they actually grow. This soil is already wet, so I'm not worried too much about that. So there's just going to drop them in, and then I'm just going to toss some soil over it. Just a little bit. Maybe then they won't blow away. So everything that I'm planting is full sun except for the basil. The basil is partial to full sun. So this garden here is on the west side of the house. So I'm going to plant the basil on this side here because this side we'll see shade for the longest. Is that how? Yeah, we'll see shade for the longest. So I'm going to start with the basil. These are the 2 basil plants that I've started indoors. They're very leggy. I've never grown herbs before, so I don't know how anything is going to turn out, but that's how beginner gardening goes. And I guess it's funny to say I'm a beginner gardener because, like, I've been gardening with my mom forever, it feels like. She's taught me so many things that I know about gardening, and everything else I just learned by trial and error, or, you know, doing things along the way. So I hope that this works out. Actually, the lavender that I transferred did not transfer well. Most of it died, and it was pretty sad to see, and the ones that are surviving are not doing very well. But I transferred a bunch of tomato and pepper plants, and they're doing really well. So I don't know if it's just the type of plant that it is or what, but I'm leery about transferring them again just because I'm afraid they're going to die. So I might just go buy some lavender plants, which is fine with me. So the 2 types of basil I have is Basil Genovese and a large Italian basil. So you're supposed to plant these about 1/4 inch deep, about 15 to 18 inches apart in sun or partial shade. So I'm going to start with those. I do have 2 of each plant, so hopefully at least one of each of them survives a transplant. I probably should have evened out my dirt a little bit after I got rid of it. I took a bunch of it to the garden I have up front because it needed some more soil. So I got rid of a ton, especially since I took down the borders that were here. I didn't want the dirt overflowing into the sidewalk. So I'm just going to try to gently pull these apart. Okay, that was awesome. They just kind of fell apart, so we're just going to go with it. So the roots do not look very strong. I don't know if they'll survive or not. We might just be, we might just end up having to start a whole herb garden right from seed. I don't know. I guess we'll find out together. But I'm really hoping these make it. It's May 7th now. It's Mother's Day weekend. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, especially my mom. And so right now is about the time where it's safe to get your plants out into the garden. We're in zone 6B, I believe, for gardening. But I feel like it's just been really cold. So hopefully these will survive any weather. I know that it's supposed to get really warm next week. There's a little shell I found in the garden. So hopefully with the warmer temperatures, and we have had ample sunshine, they will survive. So that was my Basil Genovese. I'm just going to put a little marker right here, and then I'm going to plant the Italian basil over here. Again, they came apart super easy. I'm not sure how great the root systems are. And I just found a little grub. I have no idea what it is. I'll throw it in the garbage. I don't want it eating my plants. So hopefully these will make it, and these will survive. they're so leggy too that they're all just kind of flopping over. And they were in a growing container that I had that really I should have taken them out a long time ago, but I have a cat, Toby, who likes to eat plants, and I had no other place to put them except in this growing container. So hopefully they can really sprout now that they're outside and not contained by the top of that container. So that was my Italian basil. Again, these are not going to be permanent markers. I will come up with something a little more, I don't know, prettier. Something that looks a little bit better, just for my taste. Plus, I don't want the, you know, when you put things like this into the dirt, they have a tendency to rot. I'm not going to keep them in there that long, so they should be fine. Plus, I don't want the marker to run off of it. So the next thing I'm going to do is my thyme and my tiny little rosemary that I'm not sure if it's going to make it. Rosemary. Alright, so this says plant outdoors. So outdoors. I didn't do that. I started this one inside. And it says to plant at surface depth, which I'm going to have to make a little bit of room just to plant the little pod that it's in. I'm just going to kind of push all the extra dirt over, and then any extra that I end up having, I can just take up front to the garden I need up there. Oh, this is so fragile. I just don't know if it's going to make it. So that is my rosemary. I have 3 big bunches of thyme that all have a ton of growth in them. I have a feeling these are going to do just fine, even though probably the root systems aren't that well. I don't know. I've never planted in these pods before, so I'm not sure if it's just the pods or if it was, you know, some other condition that was, you know, not causing them to have strong roots. I don't know if it, like, planting them in a traditional 6-pack would have been better or not, but I feel like this will be pretty hardy. I've never planted it before, but I feel like this one, if anything, will survive. So I am going to kind of cluster them all together and just have one big thing of thyme. So I think that since they're so big, I'm going to come over here with them, and if they spread, they'll spread, but at least they'll be somewhat out of the way of the other things. I just gotta grab my packet to see how far to plant them down. Thyme. Let's see. I don't know where my thyme is. And I'm not gonna go look for the packet. So, ooh, there's a bee that just came from underground. I hope I'm not digging in bees. But I already dug all this out, so there shouldn't be. I've seen that a couple times this year. Like, I've just been weeding the garden, and all of a sudden this bee just comes out of nowhere. And just one bee. So, I don't know, that's weird to me. Alright, so I'm just going to undo these from their pods. And gently place them all in. Oh, they're so fragile. They're just completely falling apart. So I think before I move on anymore, I am going to get rid of some more of this dirt. There just seems to be a little bit too much for what I'm going to need. So I will move the dirt and I'll be back. I had to come up with a temporary solution to keep the animals, the deers and the bunnies, out of my garden. So this is very ugly. I hate the way it looks. It's not done yet. We just kind of put it together quickly. But we used some bamboo because I wanted to use something natural other than all those stakes that had been used before. I have to dig down and get the fence into the ground so it's stable and nothing is digging underneath it, and then I'm going to put a top on it, and I don't know, I guess I'm just going to have to look into ideas of what I'm going to be able to do to keep the critters out of my garden. If anybody has any helpful suggestions, they're definitely welcomed. I couldn't do it. I could not put that ugly, rusty, raggedy old fencing on my new herb garden that I'm so proud of, that I thought was going to look so cute. I want it to be aesthetically pleasing. This is an area in my garden that I walk through a lot, but I also don't want critters to get it. I bought some deer repellent fencing. Luckily, I'm 5 minutes from Lowe's. It'll be easy to take off and put on. I don't have to have it on all the time, especially when I'm out in the garden. There's not going to be any critters out here. So while I appreciate the help from my husband, we ended up going a different route. And that's one of the things about gardening. You just try what works, and when you find out something doesn't work, then you try something else, which is what I'm doing now. So I'm almost done. I did not envision this taking all day, but it has. So I'm going to get cleaned up and then show you the finished product. Okay, please forgive the noise. I've been battling the sound of wind all day, and now I'm battling the sound of my husband rolling our lawn. But here she is. I'm finally done. This took all day. I had no idea it was going to take all day, but it was fun. I had a good time. I love projects like this. I love cleaning things up and making them look pretty. Is it perfect? No. Are there still tons of weeds? Yes. Especially if you look over to this part of the garden where I haven't even got to yet. This side's super pretty. I think it looks really great. Like I said, I got this deer repellent mesh stuff. I don't need to put it over right now, but I will put it over when well, there's nothing really growing right now. A couple things. We'll see. I don't know. Quick, the lawnmower's coming back and I have to sneeze. Thank you so much for being here with me, taking this journey with me. Oh, happy Mother's Day again. I'm not cutting that out. This is real life. Thank you for being here with me. I am so blessed to have these beautiful gardens, and I am blessed that you are here. See you next time.